It's Baseball at the Corner. This is the Michigan in Trouble podcast with your hosts, Alex S. Freeman and Luke Jaconis.
Hello and welcome to the Michigan and Trumbull podcast. I am Alex Freeman coming to you live from Washington Heights, or I guess live to tape. It's not live while you are listening and or viewing this. Joined as always by Luke Jaconis from an undisclosed bunker.
Yeah, that's right. I am just preparing for Armageddon. I've seen the movie enough times to know that if we don't get some guys in space soon drilling holes into asteroids, we are screwed. So I'm in a bunker taking cover in the suburb of Chicago, pretty much. Yes.
Why do you think we have a Space Force, Luke?
That's true. I didn't watch that show. I only watched one episode. Didn't dislike it. Actually couldn't get over Steve Carell's accent. Really bugged me. Huge Steve Carell fan. I hear the show is okay. Probably won't be going back to revisit it. I just started watching on HBO Max, Curb Your Enthusiasm, and holy hell, I am loving it.
Delightful. Yeah, that one's great. I just started watching Lasco on Apple TV.
Lasco, I've never heard of that.
James Coach. It's Ted Lasco. That's it. I got there. Which is, I don't know if you recall, Luke, when NBC Sports added the Premier League to their lineup of sports that they showed. They ran a series of commercials under the premise of an American football coach getting hired to coach in the English Premier League.
Oh, this is the Jason Sudeikis show.
Yes.
I have heard of this show. I've heard of this show a lot because when I was watching these Tigers games, which I know we're going to get to in just a moment, they kept promoting the heck out of Lasco on MLB TV. So
and if you enjoy sports and workplace comedies and the work of Jason Sudeikis, it took me a couple of episodes for it to kind of like gain its footing. In a lot of its humor, it is like fairly British. And so, give it a shot. I think it's if you've purchased an Apple device anytime in the last year, they give you a free year of Apple TV.
Oh, that's nice. That's very nice.
Give it a shot if you've got access to Apple TV because it's pretty fun.
I hear, since we're kind of going on a TV rant discussion here, the show Brockmire, I hear, is very good with Hank Azaria, and that's the one where he plays like a Major League Baseball broadcaster. Actually, a friend of the show, Tom Souls, loves that show. I want to say, I don't know if he loves it, but I know he's a huge fan of it. He kept telling me about it all the time. It was on IFC. I don't know where you can stream it or whatnot, but Brockmire, I hear, is really funny too.
Yeah, that's one that's been on my list for like, I think I heard an interview with Hank Azaria and on one of the podcasts that I listened to, and they were asking him about it because the host was a baseball fan, and so it definitely is on the top of my list because I like Azaria and I like baseball.
He's funny.
So.
He's great. Yeah, no, I'm only 4 episodes into Curb Your Enthusiasm, but it is like, it's right up my alley. Oh my God, the humor's right up my alley. It is just hilarious. Oh, yeah. It is. Yeah, it's like a raunchier Seinfeld at times, and it's right up my alley. I love it.
Yeah, I have not watched all of Curb, but I have watched a decent number of episodes to know enough that it is definitely right up your alley. You know what? This is weird, Luke, because normally when a podcast episode starts like this,
it means
we don't want to talk about the baseball.
No, actually, I do want to talk about the baseball.
This actually just may be like the function of a little pull back the curtain here. Like you and I didn't have a chance to talk a lot this week. Like we were just both on like very kind of opposite schedules.
Yeah.
And so sorry everybody, you got to hear Luke and I catch up a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting conversation. So I mean, I think if anything, they should be grateful.
So in the comments, throw us at Twitter your television recommendations. I guess is what I'll say at Mish_Trumbull. On
what are you guys watching?
Facebook. Tell us what you're watching when you aren't watching this Tigers team turn it around completely.
Yeah.
So we win the series against the Cubs. We sweep the Twins. I don't think either of us, like last week's episode, we were talking about how like it would be great to come out of this week 500, like gone 500 on the week, and here we are. We're coming out of the week back at 500. On the season. So I didn't see this coming, which like begs I guess the first question I want to ask, like, does this mean that the White Sox are just that good? Like, I know we were playing bad baseball, but
yeah, no, they are very good. I think it's time. I think we're drinking the Kool-Aid. I think the division, it's theirs for the taking. I think for this season and many seasons to come, I fully believe the White Sox hype. But we're a good team. Here's the thing. I think we always knew that this team was going to be better than last year. I think almost any team could be better than the 2019 season. We've said that a bunch of times. It's hard to get fully excited because we've essentially seen this team at their best, which I think is what they're playing right now, and at their worst, which was a 9-game losing streak.
Yeah.
So it's really sometimes hard to gauge where they fall, because really it's with the exception of like the first 2 weeks, which was kind of that in between. We're getting our feet wet. We're just kind of getting used to this whole thing. We played the Pirates, we swept them, so that's not really saying a whole lot because the Pirates just flat out aren't very good. It's kind of like we've seen two sides of this team. They're either very good and can compete and fight, or they just completely the wheels fall off and that's it. So, but after talking so negatively about them for the past couple of weeks, because really had nothing else to talk about when you're enduring a 9-game losing streak, I'm excited to finally talk positively about them. And I think this is very, very fascinating, and it throws a wrench into the kind of the plans. I mean, I said last week after them losing that series to the White Sox a few weeks ago, that their season is pretty much done. Their playoff hopes are slashed. And here we are a week later, and that's not necessarily true anymore. We're a 500 ball club. We've got literally about a month left of the season to go. And we are very much not only, and I think we're still in the run for the division. We're only like 5 games out, 4.5, 5 games out, something like that.
Looking at the standings right now, we are 4 games out.
Yeah. I mean,
the division. And I just looked this up as well. With the expanded playoff format, we're a game and a half out of a playoff spot behind Toronto.
Yeah. So I mean, we're very much in it. We're very much in it. And I tweeted this out after today's sweep, and the sweep was awesome. I mean, who haven't swept the Minnesota Twins since September of 2016, and actually finished 500 that year. They almost made a playoff run that season, 2016. It's been 4 years since we've swept the Twins. I mean, that's an insane statistic, but what I tweeted out after the game was that I've been so happy to see the hitting. I mean, good God, Candelario and Scope, Miggy. After last week, we were saying how it was so sad, watching a grandparent who just doesn't quite have such that pep in their step they once did. He made us eat those words because now he's on a tear. He's just breaking records. He's the 8th Tiger all time to get 2,000 or more hits. So he's joined a pretty elite club. Hitting has been there. Pitching has been there. We saw Matt Boyd finally go out there and kick some ass like we know he could do. Tarik Skubal got his first win. Turnbull's kicking butt. Mai's been struggling a little bit, but we can get into that later. All that stuff is great. All that stuff is fantastic. But what I'm most excited about is we're beating teams in our division, and that's what you have to do. We took 2 of 3 from Cleveland last week, and that was a surprise to us all, but that was kind of the catalyst for this good week of baseball. And then we sweep the Twins at home. They're huge wins. You have to be able to beat teams in your division. I mean, I know it sounds so stupid and obvious, but we just haven't done it for years, it seems. So it's just a nice thing to see. And the Tigers are going to, again, it doesn't get any easier from here. They're going to see the White Sox a few more times. Going to see Cleveland, and they're going to see Minnesota, also Kansas City, who we say don't sleep on them. So they have physically inserted themselves back into the conversation after being there in the beginning, then essentially knocking themselves out of the conversation. They have now brought themselves back to the forefront, I think, or if not the forefront, at least back into the circle of being like, oh yeah, don't forget about the Tigers. They're still in it. So it's exciting, and I'm damn proud of them after this past week. It really some good baseball games. Weren't always the cleanest, but they went out there and got wins. And but I mean, for the most part, they were pretty much in all these games from the get-go and taking control right away. Yeah. So that's a good part.
Yeah, I think about Monday's game against the Cubs is really the only one that they it just was not, but it was not the same kind of loss as some of the losses in that 9-game. I didn't feel like they just weren't there. it just felt like they weren't getting the bounces that they like needed in that game.
Yeah, a lot of sloppy errors in the field. Didn't have the big hit. And even like towards the tail end, I think they were like in it. Like I think the wheels fell off at the end, but I think they were like, it was like 6th or 7th inning, and it was like 3-1. I want to say something like that.
Yeah, I was texting with one of my friends who is a Cubs fan, and during that game, and we came up with the theory that we should just keep loading the bases for the Cubs, because that seems to be when the runs would stop scoring in that game. Yeah. They left, they won that game 9-3. They stranded 9 runners.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that'll do it.
Like, you got to just a dominating performance from the Cubs, in the sense that to strand 9 and still win a game 9-3.
Yeah.
Like that, the Cubs were going to win that game. It was their night all night in that regard. You could say that what happened for them to strand 9, that's obviously, we saw what that problem was in the subsequent games that the Tigers were able to win. On the Miggy note, I just want to read the list of guys that he joined.
Pretty good company.
2000 hit Tiger Club. It is Trammell, Whitaker, Crawford, Heilman, Gehringer, Kaline, and Tyrus Raymond Cobb. That's the list in the club, which is absolutely incredible.
Yeah,
and he also joined the top 50 in 3 other statistical categories. Joined. Not in 3 other, but became the.
Well, he's I think he is now. I was looking at today actually before the game. He's in the top 50 all-time hits of Major League Baseball, and actually he might have surpassed Pudge at 49. Pudge was ahead of him by 2 hits, or he might have tied Pudge because he had 2 hits in the Sunday game. So him and Pudge might be right neck and neck for that 49th spot overall in the all-time hit list. But I mean, and again, as it's it's fun to say and he breaks another record, but we're going to be hearing that a lot over the course of these next couple of seasons, because he's going to surpass guys on that all-time hit list. He's going to keep inching closer to 500 home runs. He's going to keep inching closer to 3,000 hits. I mean, it's pretty insane. It's funny thinking about the Tigers one in particular. 2,000 hits as a Detroit Tiger. I mean, who's to say? We never know. Riley Green, Spencer Torkelson, or whoever we might have coming down the pipe in the future. I don't know the next time we see a stat again like that again, if ever. I mean, you'd hope at some point you get another guy like me. I know Cabrera hasn't played his whole career in Detroit. He had those 4 or 5 seasons where he started with the Marlins. But, I mean, he's going to the Hall of Fame as a Tiger. I mean, he will be a career Tiger. So it'll be interesting to see, when Cabrera's story ends and he breaks all these records and he's a Hall of Famer, if anyone else will ever amount to that and join that illustrious group of names. It is fantastic company to be with. And I think the best thing about Miggy, other than joining that great list of players, did you see what he did after he broke that record today?
Yes.
The man accepted a curtain call with no fans in the stands. Hilarious.
From the virtual fans.
From the virtual fans, just pure comedy. I loved him. So happy for him. Look, I mean, I feel like every time I have to kind of give a disclaimer. When we have episodes where sometimes we're hard on guys like Miggy or Matt Boyd, Michael Fulmer, whoever it might be, Kristen Stewart, it's not that we dislike these guys personally. It's just at the end of the day, we can only go off what their performance is kind of dictating. We want to see them succeed. I'm not sitting here being like, God, I hope Miggy sucks. No one would ever say that in their right mind. And it's been a struggle up until this point for him. But this past week, he's most definitely turned it around. And he's kind of back into the Miggy that we know and love. And honestly, in a little bit of a way, with Matt Boyd and Kristen Stewart, it's kind of a different story because they're younger in their careers. But also, I kind of want to say in a way, almost like shame on us. Like, we just kind of maybe should have been like, you know what, Miggy's Miggy. He's going to figure it out and just let him do his thing. I didn't think he would turn it around in essentially 6 games, but he has. And let's just hope he continues to go down this streak. I mean, you can see what this lineup can do right now. It's impressive. I mean, they this lineup can hit. They really can. So it's great. And the fun thing about all this is, the best part about all this, in my opinion, is other than the fact that the lineup is producing, the Tigers are back kind of in playoff contention, and just the team is playing overall much better than they were a week ago. We're doing all this right now. Yeah, we got Casey Mize here. We got Tarek Skubal here. Faedo and Manning are done for the year. But strictly looking at the offensive side of everything, we're doing this right now, all this hitting, without Spencer Torkelson and Riley Green. It's like, okay, all right. So you add in those guys, maybe you go out this offseason or next offseason, get the big signing of whoever it might be, the big bat that you're looking for. You know, it's almost like, how do I want to frame this? We're playing a game of hangman right now, it feels like. And there's a potential word that we can't spell yet, but we're seeing letters that are starting to kind of fill, and we're starting to scratch our brains and go, okay, this could work here, that could work there. And that's this team right now. We're putting it all together. So
I think that's a really great metaphor. And obviously, you know, we're starting to put it all together with the pieces that we have currently. Will ultimately lead us into a discussion about the trade deadline, as this episode drops on Monday. The trade deadline at 4 p.m. And so we will talk a little bit about what we think the Tigers may do, what we think that they should do, which may or may not be the same thing. And but I want to kind of hang out in those. This week's games a little bit. You know, we saw some more starts from Skubal. We saw another couple starts from Mize, and I think that coming up, I think most of Tigerdom was a little bit more excited about Casey Mize, but I think that Tarik Skubal has made the adjustment quicker. I did not watch Mize pitch today, but just based on what I was reading about his performance, obviously, you know, the Tigers did get the win, but does that bear out in your mind?
Yeah, Tarik Skubal through the 3 starts that they both have had has definitely made the adjustments quicker and just better thus far. But today, in regards to the Sunday game with Casey Mize, he was just having a rough time with command. He was hitting a lot of guys, was losing guys to walks. I don't think he gave up that many hits. Then again, he only pitched 3 innings, but his pitch count got high again. His pitch count's been killing him. That's been his like Achilles heel right now. I think he left 3rd inning and he was close to 65, 70 pitches, something like that. I don't know what his final number was, but it was high. It's been a struggle for him. And he's got to figure it out. But you know what? I'd much rather him figure it out here than down in Toledo. And we've been saying we were saying this all along. Even if he comes up here and he gets tattooed left and right through a few starts, you know, that's fine. I mean, I want him to have major league experience, at least a taste of it, so next year he can go into camp in the spring, compete, earn his spot, which we're assuming, you know, he's in the rotation as of this time, you know, next year and everything, with Tigers coming out of camp, and we can just go from there. And then next season we're not worrying about adjustments and getting over those first few starts and jitters and things like that. We can already say we don't need to worry about that. He did that last year. It's already taken care of. Hopefully they're gone. You know, I'm not saying they'll be totally complete and everything's worked out, but we're saving a step down the road, which I think is of most sports. We're doing that with Tarik Skubal as well, Isaac Paredes, Willie Castro, and those are the things we want to see. So I think it's only going to help us in the long run.
Yeah, and I think when I think about it, like looking at the rotation, obviously when these 2 guys came up, the rotation was in deep trouble because of injuries and incredible underperformance from guys that should have been doing significantly better. Obviously, Matt Boyd is starting to pitch like the Matt Boyd we know and love him to be and want him to be so badly. You know, Turnbull is some struggles, but is still pitching fine. And it is nice to only have one of these guys be the hazard start, where we're a little bit it could go off the rails pretty quick. But hopefully it doesn't. And I feel with all of these young guys, I feel like with this team as it is right now, if we miss the playoffs by a game and a half, but we got these guys some really great experience in that push for the playoffs, I feel fine missing the playoffs in that scenario this season. Obviously, I want them to make the playoffs. That kind of goes without saying. But in the situation where we've just been giving these guys opportunities to learn and grow, and we are still being competitive. Obviously, if we are competitive for a spot and it is like a true problem for them to be there, they're not going to learn from that. They need to go learn that elsewhere. But in a scenario where it comes down to Mize has a rough start and the offense can't recover to back him up, I can live with that scenario. What I couldn't live with is something that, as a fan, is that we didn't give them these opportunities and we missed the playoffs.
Yeah, I think right now, up to this point, and I feel like a hypocrite almost, because here I was a week ago being like, yeah, postseason chances are kind of done, and that's just not the case right now. They proved us wrong. They damn near proved me wrong. I'll be the first to admit it. Again, can you blame us? They went through a 9-game losing streak. I mean, it was like it wasn't looking good there for a while. But it is what it is. It's in the past, and here's where we're at. But we're halfway through the season, a little bit more than halfway. And up to this point, I think you have to consider this season a success thus far. Mm-hmm. Now, there's still a month left to go. Anything can happen in a month. They're going to keep seeing the Twins. They're going to see Cleveland. They're going to see the White Sox, Brewers. They got some doubleheaders, Cardinals. So, yeah, it's not over yet. We have to – here's one thing, too. Just because things are going good now, things were going good in the beginning of the year, too. We saw how quickly we got derailed there. And I'm not saying that's going to happen again. I'm not trying to be a negative Nancy when I say that, but I'm just to keep in mind. But yeah, I think up to this point, the season's pretty much been a success. I mean, there's probably honestly projections out there that thought we wouldn't even win 16 games. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, here we are halfway through and we're a 500 team competing not only for the division, but for the wild card. Things are looking all right. Knock on wood, we stay on this pace. But yeah, thus far, definitely a success. And for Mize and Skubal, like I said, I want them up here. I'm cool with them shutting down Manning and Fido. I get Avila's reasoning for that. There was just, some not lingering issues, but just a couple things they were a little bit, concerned about. And they said, no need to push it for this season. Let's get them rested up so they're ready to go come camp next spring. I totally think that's the right idea. Let them get their health to be 100% so we can use them, and hopefully they can make the team out of camp next March and April. But yeah, no, this is good. Everything is just kind of molding nicely together, and you got to give them props. They've won their last 3 series against the Cleveland Indians, the Chicago Cubs, and the Minnesota Twins, and they swept the Twins. I mean, those teams aren't slouches. It's not like we played the Pirates 3 series in a row. Those are 3 legitimate teams who are also vying for playoff spots right now. So it's something we should be proud of. And I am proud of the team, and it's nice to see, and it's just nice, and it's weird almost. Like I was talking to my brother on the phone tonight, and I was like, I know it's only 60 games and everything, but I was like, you do realize like there's a good chance the Tigers are going to the playoffs this year potentially. Like, and we weren't even saying that a week ago. We were like they were 5 games under 500, I think. Something like that, and they've come back with vengeance. So let's hope they can keep it up, and let's just hope for the best there. So let's transition into we're heading into September. Trade deadline is Monday, August 31st at 4:00 p.m. Eastern. GM Al Avila has said he's fielded calls from 20 different teams over the course of this week, and I would say that the tone of those conversations a week ago were certainly very different than I think Al, as he looks at his desk tonight and all day Monday as he answers the phone, Monday as this episode drops, as you may be listening after the deadline. Even a week ago, like my thoughts on what the Tigers should do at the deadline have certainly shifted in this last week. Thinking about guys like Jonathan Schoop, here on a 1-year deal, like we're probably not competitive a week ago. So maybe either decide that we are going to try and sign him for something long-term, or let's try and deal him while we can get something of value out of that contract, and we don't lose him in free agency and get nothing in return. But now, obviously, don't want to see Schoop go anywhere. No,
don't really have. There's not a piece of this Tigers team that you feel like you could lose and still be doing what they're doing that someone would also want.
Yeah,
on their team. Like I think about like Cam Maven. If 4:00 Monday rolls around and we hear that they traded Cam Maven, I'm probably not going to lose a whole bunch of sleep over that. But what team is looking to add Cam Maben to their roster?
Yeah, honestly, when I was thinking of like players that could maybe get dealt, I don't think Schoop's going anywhere. I think honestly that's the worst thing the Tigers could do right now. He's the best hitter on the team, and no matter what, I don't think they'd have to get a real nice haul in return for him. I don't think it'd be wise to trade Schoop right now. Maben is like the only guy I can think of, and maybe a pitcher and a couple a minor leaguer that we don't know much. I mean, well, also the thing is with the player pool, it's got to be everyone on the 60-man player pool. That's only people that can be traded, I believe. That's the rule. And then there can be like players to be named later, but so it's got to be whoever's in your 60-man player pool are involved in the trades. I mean, yeah, maybe Cameron Maben, but beyond that, there's not a lot of other guys that I could think that need to go or that I would want to see go. And I don't think you're gonna. I know Matt Boyd's name always gets floated around, but I don't think you're going to see him go because although his last 2 starts have been more promising, his first 4 or 5 starts were not good. So there's not really. I think you can ask for too much for him. And Spencer Turnbull, I think it'd be a mistake to let him go. And things like that. So I honestly think their best bet right now is just kind of staying put. And I don't take that as a sign of them being like, we're not trying to win it. I think just see what you got with this team. Why not? I mean, it seems to be work. We saw it work in the beginning of the year. Then we just hit that wall, that 9-game wall, and that sucked. And now we're seeing it working again. So that leads me to believe that there are this team, this ragtag group of guys, when you form them all together into one like big puzzle, they can make it work. They can make it work. It's hard to say. I mean, like for us to go out and get someone, I'm trying to think there's a couple areas I think we could use some help. I think left field and Kristen Stewart, I still don't think he's kind of out from underneath the spotlight yet. I love him, but Nico has been struggling, pretty badly offensively. So maybe something short. Don't need catchers. We've got an abundance of players who are going to be playing third, it seems. So I like Paredes at third. I like Jamer at first. I also like Jamer at third. And Schoop is second. I think the outfield is pretty much set. I think Victor Reyes is really kind of taking these opportunities to play and being like, I'm going to be in this lineup every day. And it's just so fascinating. He was a Rule 5 draft pick. I mean, they've gotten more mileage out of him than probably any of us. I'll be the first to say it. When we first got Victor Reyes in 2018, I did not like him. Did not like him at all. I just didn't like. I don't know. I just didn't vibe with him for whatever reason. And he's proven me wrong. Maybe this is what this week's episode is about. Just proving me wrong, and that's great. Maybe that's the onus they're doing. So I don't know, but I just don't think there's a need to trade right now. And it's not as a sign of like, we don't want to win this year, because I'll be the first to call it out if I think that's the case. I just think take a shot with the team you got right now. Bullpen's been clicking. Starting rotation is definitely better. Maybe you go out and get a starter. I mean, I won't be heartbroken if I don't see Ivan Nova start again this year. I won't be heartbroken if Jordan Zimmerman is like been rumored to start, like been working out again. I don't need to see him come back and get a couple starts in September. Fulmer, I'm kind of whatever with Fulmer. Fulmer's the one guy right now in the rotation that's kind of that hazard start where you're kind of like, oh boy, here we go. I mean, even with Matt Boyd, who struggled early, I still feel confident just knowing what he can do and seeing what he's done as of late. I'm confident in Spence. I'm even if they don't do well, Tarek and Casey Mize, I'm down for give them some shots. So, I mean, there's just not a lot of areas that I feel like right now we need to kind of blow this thing up to go get people or to get rid of people. I don't see the need.
I think it's interesting what you said about Victor Reyes. I think he's been a ton of fun this week especially. He's really, really taken advantage of some opportunities this week to show off in a great way, and he's done it spectacularly. And I think that this goes back to something that we said early on in the season about this team. Right as the season was getting started, like this is a bunch of guys that no one has really believed in. And you know, I think that things kind of started out in a way that we were like, okay, maybe this is, and then they went on a bit of a cold streak, a bit of a freezing cold streak, nine games, and that led a lot of people to kind of, I think, go, oh, okay, they are who we thought they were.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the things we've been seeing this week is that they've been playing a little bit looser, and a little bit like more. They seem to be having more fun with each other, but they still they also have a bit of that chip on their shoulder, like in a good way, in that it is like they're not. The pressure came off of them after they went on that 9-game skid to like prove everybody wrong, because they, in a lot of ways, like proved everybody right, and now they can only go up in anybody's opinion, and that like there's a freedom in that, and I do think that. My hope is that Al Avila, who has not been great at executing trades at the deadline, does the best thing for all of us and does nothing tomorrow. That you know, he just turns off his cell phone. Al, I went to Rockaway Beach in New York City. If you want to go find a beach somewhere to just go hang out tomorrow, I recommend. It's relaxing. You don't have to do anything. Your best job as the GM on Monday, August 31st,
chill out,
is to do nothing.
Al, tomorrow night, me and some friends are, Alex, I don't know if you're partaking in this. Maybe you are, maybe you aren't. We're playing Office Trivia. If you would like to join us, you are more than welcome to. It's trivia about the hit NBC sitcom, The Office. Not really a sitcom, it was a mockumentary, but to each their own.
maybe you want to spend all day watching The Office, Al, and not be in your office to take any calls and get seduced by some silly trade. Like,
I saw a funny tweet that said Al Avila is finally seeing one of his trades pay off because Candelario and Paredes came from the Cubs, and that was in the Justin Wilson Alex Avila trade from, I believe it was in 2017. And it's like, it's true. Like, it's the first trade that Al Avila has made that we're actually seeing it before our eyes. Like, oh my God, the people we got back in trade are actually performing. Oh my. I am so happy, by the way. And I said this last week, even when the Tigers were scuffling, I was happy for him. Jeimer Candelario has really turned it around this season.
Yes.
I mean, he really, really has just stepped up, especially in the absence of losing CJ Cron. He has really jumped into that fourth spot in the batting order and has taken the ball and he has ran with it. And it's really great to see. And I said it last week, but I think with his performance these past couple of weeks, Jeimer is making a statement. He's saying, I know we've got Isaac Paredes. I know Torkelson's coming up, but I'm still here, and I have a purpose for being here. So don't forget about that. You know, he's a switch hitter. He can play great defense. I know he's been making a few errors at first, but I'm just gonna chop that up to just essentially a new position for him. I mean, third base and first base are very different positions to play on those corner infield spots. We saw what he was doing at third base before he made the move to first. So I'm not really worried about those kind of you know, whatever errors at first over the last couple games. But Jeimer Candelario has stepped up. I mean, really, with him, Miggy had a great week. Victor Reyes, as we said, had a great week. Scope has just been dynamite this entire season. Those guys at the top of the order, and then the bottom of the order are still contributing. I know Jacoby Jones has cooled off a little bit from that hot start, but I still feel good him having a bat. You know, if game's on the line. Austin Romine is essentially an RBI single machine, and Isaac Paredes I know is always going to have good, clean, smart at bats. So I mean, right there, that's what 7 out of your 9 guys. I'm kind of like, okay. Yeah. I don't hate this. I like our odds. So again, it's good to see. It's nice to see. And it's exciting. It's more than anything. It's just exciting.
After Al takes August 31st off, I would like him to get into the office on September 1st. My 2-year wedding anniversary. So
happy anniversary.
Thank you. Shout out
I was a groomsman.
To friend of the pod, my wife. for for two wonderful years of marriage. But I would like Al to start locking up Austin Romine. Start that process. Just
I was
write him a big old check right now, and let's lock that in so that he can shepherd these young pitchers into the rotation and guide them through games, because he's been fantastic at it.
You know, we talked last week a little bit about when will the Tigers go into the winter meetings or the off season as big buyers? When are they going to go out, and when will they ever sign a guy like a Mookie Betts with those kind of numbers and those years and things like that? And as this off season approaches, not only a couple months away, whatever it'll be, I don't think we're going to see that. I don't think we're going to see a massive signing this offseason. What the Tigers honestly might be doing a lot this offseason, which could be very smart depending on how this last kind of month of the season shakes up, just a lot of re-signing. You could be seeing CJ Cron, Austin Romine, Jonathan Schoop, and then the skipper, Ron Gardenhire. I mean, that's one of the biggest things too. And you've already got the pitchers. You got Boyd and Turnbull for a bit. I think Matt is a free agent. I want to say maybe next season or the season after. Right. But it's you got him for a little bit. Spencer Turnbull as well, and then Mize, Manning, Faedo, Skubal. We got those boys for a while, so it's that there's some good security there in terms of pitching. So yeah, I think this offseason you just might see a lot of re-signings. That might be the name of the game with Schoop, Cron, Romine, and Gardy. I mean, I don't want to, again, you don't want to get super excited. It's a 5-game win streak. It is exciting. It's great. We're 500. We're competing. We're in the playoff chase still. It's awesome. But we don't want to, start thinking too far ahead and everything. We still got to see how this season pans out. But as of now, at least, if he wants to come back, I think you bring Gardy back on maybe like a 2 or at least a 3-year deal, and just kind of see where he's at. I saw a thing we shared from the account that he said he's not going to talk about contract extensions or anything during the season, which I'm not surprised at all, because I think that is the smart move to do. And also Gardy is like just a stand-up class act veteran manager, and I would expect nothing less from a guy like him. So would I like to see kind of a thing like maybe the last 2 weeks of the year where it just is magically announced that kind of how it was last season, that like Al Avila got his 2-year extension and that happens with Gardy this year? Yeah, I would, but I'm pretty confident that Gardy is going to be the skipper at least for another couple of years. So we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah. Two things that I want to talk about before we look at next week's games. First, I would love if what has secretly been happening that we didn't realize, that Al Avila is turning the Tigers into the Patriots of baseball, because like you think about like what the Patriots have been so good at for so long, and Bill Belichick has been so good at, is one kind of this like mad genius in the draft. But the main thing that they do is they just like find guys that are not big, sexy names, but are just like really good value position guys. And I think that, looking at some of these offseason like on 1-year deals that the Tigers bringing in Austin Romine, Jonathan Schoop, CJ Cron, small sample size, but from what we've seen, it's like, oh yeah, this guy is like, it was not a Mookie Betts style marquee signing, but is like really good in exactly the way that we need them to be. And it is like panning out, finding guys like Victor Reyes in the Rule 5 draft, like finding those pieces. Maybe Al Avila is a mad genius. We were ready to tar and feather him last week, which I guess is the nature of being a GM of a baseball team.
Well, we even said it we even said it last week and during when they were on the losing streak. The easiest way to get over a losing streak is just to win. That's what the Tigers have done. Winning cures everything, and that's pretty evident right now because our tone has changed drastically from last week's show to this week's show. And as you would expect it to, the Tigers just went 5-1 over the course of this last week, and they swept the Twins, which they haven't done in 4 years. So, I mean, it's, you would expect kind of this rapport to be a bit more excited and enthusiastic than it might have been in weeks past. But Al Avila, anytime I hear the words Al Avila and the word genius in the same sentence, I almost have like a bit of like a stroke or something. But I'm not quite there yet. But maybe, just not quite there yet.
Yeah. The other thing I want to talk about is Gregory Soto closer.
Yeah. So I guess what this is all, because they were kind of talking. So also full disclosure, and I was joking about it throughout the weekend. I didn't watch the doubleheader games on Saturday. I worked Saturday morning, so I missed the day game, and the afternoon evening game I was golfing. So I missed both games, and I came home from work, and I turned on the game, and it was right as they were getting the last out in the 7th. And then when I was leaving golf, I turned the game on the radio, and I heard Dan Dickerson call the final out in the 7th of the second game. So apparently I did something right. Maybe me not tweeting really was the lucky charm, because they won like their last 5 in a row when I haven't really been tweeting. But yeah, so the Soto thing, from what they were talking about on Sunday's broadcast, obviously Joe had been struggling. It's pretty well documented. So they want him essentially pitching in less stressful situations, I guess. So Buck took the 8th per usual, and then Soto has been closing games out in the 9th. And he's done a fine job. I know he got into a little bit of trouble yesterday in the second game, but he got out of it, and he got 2 saves in 24 hours. So I think you're doing something right there. But yeah, so I don't think that's like the permanent plan. From everything they were talking about on the broadcast today, that it still is Joe Jimenez is still the 9th inning guy. It's just right now he's struggling. They kind of want to build back up his confidence.
I don't know, man. Everything's temporary till it isn't. And if Soto keeps coming in and just getting the saves,
Soto and Farmer. I know Farmer kind of got tattooed that one Cubs game last week when the Tigers won 7-6. He got tattooed in the 9th a bit for like 4 runs or whatever, 3 runs or 4 runs. But Farmer's had a good season. Soto's had a good season. Cisnero has had a good season.
Yeah.
Ryan Garcia has had a solid season. Funkhauser, although his debut was not pretty, has been better as of late, which is very encouraging. Those are 4 or 5 guys. Like, the bullpen is improved. Like, I can't believe I'm saying this, but the bullpen has improved. And again, I know you can always just think if it's only a 60-game season, we've only seen 32 games right now, but it's just the facts. They are improved, and we're taking what we've been given for us to kind of view and to dissect the season, and it's just been better. Just flat out has been better.
Yeah. So just real quick to kind of wrap things up as we head into the week. Tuesday, Wednesday, we've got the Brew Crew in Milwaukee. Currently 15-18, the Brewers playing in that American League Central or National League Central division, which seems a little bit weaker than I think we anticipated it was. And then 4 against the Twins again in Minnesota, and that's actually part of what is going to be 5 games against the Twins. But there will be another episode in there before we play that 5th game against the Twins. I obviously, for me, I want to see more of the same of what we're doing. We get a little bit new look as we see the Brewers, and hopefully we can go to Target Field and at least come away with a couple of wins there. I don't anticipate that we will sweep the Twins again, but hey, that'd be great.
Yeah, the one thing Tigers, are going to have to really keep fighting at is, again, as we've said this whole time, the competition doesn't get any easier. Just because you got back to 500, you don't automatically just get to go to the playoffs. This is where the real work begins. As funny as that may sound, but it's the truth. Also, one thing they're not going to have in their favor, they're going to have, I think the last month of the season, if I'm not mistaken, they are playing a lot more road games than they are home. So they're losing home field advantage. So you got to win on the road. They're just going to have to go into some away turfs and going to have to steal some wins on enemy territory, so to speak. But yeah, it'll be exciting. I hope they can sweep the Twins again. That was a lot of fun. I wouldn't mind seeing that again in the future. But until that, let's just go out there and play good baseball. And it starts with Milwaukee on Tuesday. Boys get an off day tomorrow or today, listening on a Monday, so that's nice. But 2-game series, I think, right? Tuesday and Wednesday in Milwaukee, and then to Minnesota, I believe.
Day off, and then we go to Minnesota. So
okay, so they get a couple days off this week.
Yeah, a little bit of rest this week, which will
rest everybody up. Yeah, awesome. Go Tigers. Hey, you know what, man? For real. I know it's up and down. Baseball is like a roller coaster, but this team we always say it, if we're going to kick them when they're down, we got to build them up when they're rocking. And right now they're rocking, and it's great to see. Baseball is going well. 500 ball club. Who would have thought halfway through the season they're still fighting for it? But here we are, and they're going to keep on doing it. I got a good feeling. So go Tigers.
Absolutely. Go Tigers. And we'll be here right along with you all the way. Sometimes it's fun to talk about them like this week. Other weeks it hasn't been, but hopefully the rest of the way, it's all fun from here. That's the hope.
Yes, sir.
Have a good one, Luke.
See you, man.